Hello, and welcome to Part 2, Jetstream Sam's Wild Ride. We resume with calmly entering the lobby and not trying to murder the secretary. You enter the elevator and begin your ascension of the tower. You proceed through the building having a relatively uneventful trip up, until you happen upon the Weave Garden, which is a very cool thematic area where absolutely nothing goes wrong. You reach the second elevator section of the mission, where nothing goes wrong, because elevators in video games are always a safe place and not an arena to be locked in. And even if it was an arena, there's no way the game would do something crazy like have something go wrong with the elevator and have it break down, causing you to need to jump to the adjacent platform. That would be crazy. Every gorilla I encounter takes 3 days off my lifespan. You know, this new level is really great, but it really makes me wish I could replay some of the older levels. Oh hey! Now this isn't actually Mistroll, it's more like one of those bots you see in comments where it's pretending to be a big creator, and it says something like free V-Bucks, but it's really a virus that's gonna steal your credit card. Now, all this fighting Mistroll again is great, but it really makes me miss about 30 minutes ago. Oh hey! Now, killing Monsoon again is great and all, but it really makes me miss about 2 minutes in the future. Oh hey! Sundowner delivers a very Jeff Bezos-like speech and asks that if child soldiers are so wrong, why is it so damn profitable? As well as, how can it be a hate crime if he loved doing it? Raiden of course does try to rebuke this, but that's because he simply doesn't understand the Sigma grind set. Instead of justifying his motives to you, he's instead just going to kill you. Sundowner's fight is very cool. His main form of attack is standing there and letting you hurt yourself with his explosive shield. Something I ended up doing quite a bit. Now there's supposed to be a phase 2 after you destroy the shield, but I didn't do that. I simply just went around the shield. Sundowner pretends to fall off the building before actually throwing you down the building. This forces Raiden to change up his tactics and reenact on him. Sundowner spills the beans on how they're planning to launch Operation Tecumseh, which is a very fancy name for the president is in Pakistan, kill the president, war. Raiden and the others realize they need to get to Pakistan before that happens. Unfortunately, escaping Detroit will not be so simple. Unfortunately, during the most glamorous escape attempt, Raiden does in fact fall out of the fucking sky. Thankfully, despite all the tension, gravity is actually more of a suggestion than a threat. Raiden now has time on his hands to do what everyone loves doing in Colorado. Leaving. Now, after escaping from Detroit, Raiden is met with his greatest challenge yet, the average Brazilian male. What was the dog doing? Now the big showdown begins. A clash between two strange and confusing ideologies. Brazilian versus man. The fight you've all been waiting for. Jetstream Sam's Wild Ride.
And it ends here. Okay. Let's dance.
I fucking love this fight. Everything comes together to really give you the payoff of the big showdown between Raiden and Sam. The simple desert arena mixed with a beautiful sunset in the background is fantastic. It's like an old western but with swords instead of guns. It does not disappoint. Part 2 of the fight is when things get really interesting. Normally when I'm disarmed by the raving Swedish man behind my apartment building, I run away. Sam instead opts to elegantly beat the shit out of you with his bare hands while calling you a bitch. Part 3 of the fight begins when Sam picks his sword back up again and decides to take it seriously this time around. In phase 3 of the fight, he gets this really cool slash attack, which if you're good at the game is probably really easy to deal with, but if you're a shitter like me, if one of them hits you, they're all gonna fucking hit you. Now as the brutal battle comes to a close, I nail the QuickTime event on my first try.
Supposed to be stronger than this. Raiden, respond. Raiden? Raiden!
The battle ends with one last strike, and Sam is the only enemy you don't use blade mode to kill. You've truly achieved your Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. That joke is so fucking stupid. You discover Sam had barely any cybernetic enhancements, and I guess Brazilians are just built like that. Raiden considers stealing Sam's generational sword, but discovers it's locked with two-factor authentication. Instead, gives it to the dog to use like a bone. Wolf can have a little high-frequency blade as a treat. I have no words for this next part.
Are you, Mr. Raiden, sir?
To reach Pakistan in time before the president takes a dirt nap, you're gonna need a space shuttle to get there, which is of course built by a literal child. Once in Pakistan, you arrive at a US base full of corpses, or at least it's about to be. After traversing the base, you run into Wolf, who has had the ever-loving shit kicked out of him. Here's where things start to get interesting. Senator Armstrong arrives on some Dr. Eggman shit, and tells you that turns out killing the president's pretty overrated, and he's got a new plan, and then tells you to check Twitter. You actually don't need to kill the president at all. You can just tell other people that Pakistan wanted to kill the president, and they'll just kill Pakistan. It's something we in the business call too fucking easy. Sure, the American soldiers dying is sad, but there's bread to be made and foreign people to exploit. God damn, it's good to be an American. It's honestly the ideal outcome for everyone. Unless you're a witness, of course. The battle against Exilus gameplay-wise isn't very exciting, because you're basically waiting for it to actually do something that lets you hit it, so not a huge fan of the waiting game, but it more than makes up for it in the ending. Fucking tearing a Metal Gear's arm off and then using it to sword fight the fucking thing is probably one of the hardest things I've seen in this game, and I'm probably the hardest I've been this entire game. Killing Exilus didn't kill Armstrong, and as he absorbs the American spirit directly into his body, he delivers a cartoonish ass beating. This is going to be one hell of a boss fight. And one boss fight that makes me really regret putting all of my points into the sword. It's amazing they were able to make a boss fight that perfectly replicated how I was kicked out of my local IHOP for drinking all the orange juice. As Raiden challenges him on his philosophy, he admits the truth. His real goal is to get elected as the President of the United States so he can outlaw laws. Basically, he dreams of a world where might makes right. If a man feels wronged by his local Arby's, he has the right, nay the obligation, to petrol bomb it in retaliation. There will be no more aggravated assault, only aggravated justice. If you have the power, the IRS will not be collecting your tax dollars, they will instead be collecting these fucking hands. This is easily my favorite philosophy of the game.
Fuck all these lunatic lawyers and chicken shit bureaucrats. Fuckers 24/7.
The legendary ass beating persists as he continues to make his point, only stopping when he believes he's actually getting through to you. And then he's not only willing, but enthusiastic to get you on his side. Fucking Chad.
I was wrong. You're not greedy. Shit insane!
Raiden rejects this offer of peace and attacks him like a crackhead.
Mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg.
After your brief bit of philosophy, you get back to beating the shit out of each other. And by each other, I of course mean me. Armstrong tells you the source of his power is from an N-word pass he was granted in high school, making him nigh invincible.
Die, you piece of shit!
Wolf reappears, bringing with him the ghost of Jetstream Sam. He cannot bear to watch you get your dick absolutely stomped anymore, and so he's giving you his sword. What the dog do?
Armstrong! I said my sword was a tool of justice. Not used in anger. Not used for vengeance. But now I'm not so sure. And besides, this isn't my sword. Come on. Okay. Let's dance.
Now that we're finally done fighting Armstrong, it's time to finally fight Armstrong. Which is pretty fucking hard. He's got a lot of AoE, and doesn't give you a lot of window to actually hit him back. I love any character that after the civilized option fails, just goes apeshit and beats the shit out of you. Also, I think it's insane how much character they were able to put into him. This is the second time you see him of the whole game, and he barely says shit the first time. Everything you know about Armstrong comes from this moment, and it's fucking amazing. As the fight begins to finally wind down, the game gives me one last quick time event, where it randomly decides to switch to the fucking mouse, and scares the shit out of me thinking I was gonna lose. It finally comes to a close with you fisting the Senator. With his dying breath, he tells you that you're gonna carry on his philosophy. That you are his worthy successor.
Carve your own path. Use whatever methods you see fit.
And instead of debating that point, Raiden instead just rips his fucking heart out. And with that comes the death of the only politician I've ever liked. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it took so long. I'll be faster in the future. I'm getting better at doing these styles of videos. The next one's going to be Sunset Overdrive. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll be posting updates about it. And I'm excited to make more.